The words still rang in my ears as I stood there, holding a 22-pound turkey in my oven-mitted hands. "Mom, you'll eat after everyone else. We have a seating arrangement." My daughter Madison said it so casually, like she was commenting on the weather, like I wasn't her mother, like I hadn't spent the last 30 years sacrificing everything so she could have the life she now lived. The dining room went silent. 8 pairs of eyes stared at their empty plates. Trevor's mother, Carol, looked like someone had slapped her. And my son-in-law, Trevor, he just sat there, examining his napkin like it held the secrets of the universe. Let me back up. 1 week earlier, my phone rang while I was having coffee with my best friend Diane at our usual diner. "Mom, I'm so glad I caught you." Madison's voice bubbled through the speaker. "Trevor and I want to host Thanksgiving this year, our first holiday in the new house. Can you come early and help with the cooking? You know I'm hopeless with turkey." My heart swelled. Finally, after 2 years of feeling like an afterthought in my daughter's new life, she was inviting me in. "Of course, sweetheart. I'd love to." "Perfect. Come Thursday morning around 8. And Mom, Trevor's parents will be there, plus his sister and her husband, and my friend Rachel from work. So, maybe wear something nice?" Something nice. I looked down at my department store cardigan. "Sure, honey." After I hung up, Diane raised an eyebrow over her coffee cup. "Let me guess. She needs something. She wants me there for Thanksgiving. That's progress, Di. Linda, when was the last time she invited you somewhere without needing your help? Your money or your babysitting?" I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. "Welcome to Viral Revenge Files Stories. Could you please tell us where you're watching from? And if this is your first time visiting this page, kindly subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on other stories. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this one ends, because what happened at that Thanksgiving dinner changed everything. And what Madison didn't know was that I'd already discovered her secret. I spent 3 days preparing for that Thanksgiving. Tuesday morning, I went to the grocery store with my carefully planned list. The good cranberries, not the canned ones. Fresh herbs for the stuffing. A heritage breed turkey from the local farm that cost nearly $100. I wanted everything perfect. As I loaded my cart, I calculated the cost in my head. $280. That was half my monthly pension, but Madison was worth it. She'd always been worth it. The cashier smiled as she rang up my items. "Someone's going to have a wonderful Thanksgiving." "I hope so," I said. That night, I sat in my small apartment looking at old photo albums. There was Madison at 5, covered in flour from helping me bake her first pumpkin pie. Madison at 12, setting our tiny table for 2. Madison at 16, laughing over burnt rolls. It had been just us since she was 3. Her father, my Daniel, died in a construction accident. One moment he was there, the next, gone. I was 25 years old with a toddler and no idea how to survive. But I did survive. I worked double shifts at County General Hospital, feet aching, back screaming. I picked up extra weekend shifts. I said no to friends, to vacations, to my own life. Everything went to Madison. My phone buzzed. Diane. "Still going Thursday?" "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" "Just checking. Remember what we talked about, Lynn? Boundaries." I sighed. "She's my daughter, Di, not a boundary to be set. Even daughters can take advantage, sweetheart, especially when we let them." I pushed the thought away. Diane meant well, but she didn't understand. Madison was just busy with her new life. Marriage, a new house, building her career. She didn't mean to forget about me. At least that's what I told myself. Thursday morning, I arrived at Madison's house at 7:45. The development was one of those new planned communities with identical colonial-style houses and perfectly manicured lawns. I'd helped with the down payment 2 years ago, $30,000 from the savings account I'd been building since Daniel died. Madison answered the door in yoga pants and a sweatshirt, phone pressed to her ear. She waved me in, mouthing work call and pointing toward the kitchen. I found the kitchen already chaotic. Dishes everywhere, trash overflowing, and no sign that any preparation had started. Setting down my bags of ingredients, I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. An hour later, Trevor appeared. He was tall, handsome in that polished way that always made me slightly uncomfortable. Like everything about him was calculated for maximum impression. "Linda, good morning." He didn't smile. He never really smiled at me. "Good morning, Trevor. Coffee's fresh." "Thanks." He poured a cup, leaned against the counter. "So Madison mentioned you're helping with the cooking today." "Of course. Happy to." "Great. My mother's a bit particular about holiday meals. She's used to a certain standard." I felt the jab but ignored it. "I've been cooking Thanksgiving dinner for 32 years. I think I can manage." He shrugged, walking away. At 10, Trevor's family arrived. His mother, Carol, was elegant, silver-haired, dressed like she was attending a country club luncheon. His father was quiet, polite. His sister, Jennifer, brought her husband and 2 teenagers. Madison suddenly appeared, transformed, hair perfect, makeup flawless, wearing a designer dress I didn't recognize. "Carol, so glad you're here." She embraced Trevor's mother like they were old friends. I watched from the kitchen doorway, hands covered in turkey brine. "And this must be your mother," Carol said, spotting me. I started to step forward, but Madison spoke first. "Yes, that's Mom. She's helping with the cooking. Mom, maybe wash up before you come say hello." My cheeks burned. Carol's eyes widened slightly. I retreated to the kitchen sink. That's when I saw it. The desk in the corner of the breakfast nook, stacked with papers, and on top, a letter from First National Bank. Notice of late payment, mortgage account. My heart stopped. I'd been making Madison's mortgage payments for the last 6 months. Every month, $2,000 from my account to hers, like clockwork. Why would there be a late payment notice? I spent the next 4 hours creating a feast: roasted turkey with herb butter, homemade stuffing with sage and cranberries, sweet potato casserole with the pecan topping Madison loved as a child, green bean almondine, fresh rolls, 2 kinds of pie. The whole time, I could hear Madison in the living room, laughing, entertaining, playing the perfect hostess. Not once did she check on me. Not once did she offer to help. Carol came into the kitchen twice. The first time she simply said, "It smells wonderful. Can I help?" "I've got it, thank you." The second time, she stayed longer. "You've been cooking alone all day. That doesn't seem right." I smiled, tired. "I'm used to it." "How long have you been a nurse?" she asked, noticing my hospital ID badge I'd forgotten to remove from my purse. 33 years, retired last year." "County General?" "Yes. That's where my mother spent her final days. The nurses there were angels." She paused. "Madison told us you were still working. Administrative position?" I froze. "No, I retired. Full retirement." Carol's face shifted, something like understanding crossing her features. "I see." At 3:00, I pulled the turkey from the oven. Golden, perfect, exactly right. Madison swept in, phone in hand, taking photos. "Oh my God, Mom, it's gorgeous. This is going to look amazing on Instagram." "Glad you like it, sweetheart." She was already posting, her fingers flying. Thanksgiving, dinner, hostess life, homemade with love, blessed and grateful. I noticed she didn't tag me, didn't mention who actually made it. "Madison, can you help me carry everything out? Oh, Trevor can do that. I need to check on the table settings. Trevor carried the dishes mechanically, like he was moving furniture. No acknowledgement. No thanks. My nephew James arrived at the last minute, apologizing for being late. He hugged me tight. Aunt Linda, you look tired. Long day of cooking. Where's Madison? Entertaining. He frowned but said nothing. At 3:30, Madison called everyone to dinner. The dining room looked like something from a magazine. Fall decorations, fancy china I'd never seen before, name cards at each setting. Everyone found their seats. Carol and her husband at one end, Trevor's sister and her family along the side, Madison and Trevor at the other end, James near the middle. I looked for my name card. There wasn't one. Madison, I said quietly. Where should I sit? The conversation stopped. Madison looked up, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Something cold. Oh, Mom, we have a specific seating arrangement for dinner. You'll eat after everyone else. There's not quite enough room at the table for everyone, and since you were in the kitchen anyway, I figured you could eat afterwards. We can save you a plate. The words hit me like a physical blow. Eat after everyone else, like I was the help, like I hadn't spent all day cooking, like I hadn't spent the last 30 years giving her everything. Trevor wouldn't look at me. Jennifer stared at her plate. James's jaw dropped. But Carol looked horrified. Madison, she said sharply, that is completely inappropriate. Carol, it's fine. My mother doesn't mind. Do you, Mom? You always say you like to eat later anyway. I'd never said that. Not once. Ever. If you've ever been disrespected by someone you sacrificed everything for, comment with your broken heart emoji and tell us where it happened. The room was silent, waiting, watching to see if I'd accept this humiliation. And something in me, something that had been bending for 30 years, finally snapped. No, I said quietly. What? Madison blinked. No, I do mind. I turned and walked into the kitchen, grabbed my oven mitts, opened the oven where I'd been keeping the turkey warm, and I picked it up, all 22 pounds of it. I walked back into the dining room carrying that turkey like it was made of gold. Madison's face went white. Mom, what are you doing? I'm leaving, I said calmly, and I'm taking my turkey with me. You can't, that's our dinner. No, Madison, this is my dinner, that I bought, that I prepared. In fact, everything on this table, I bought it. I cooked it. Me. Trevor stood up. Linda, you're being unreasonable. Madison just meant, I know exactly what she meant, Trevor. She meant that I'm not good enough to sit at this table with your family, that after working all day to make this meal, I should eat the leftovers in the kitchen, alone. You're being oversensitive, Trevor said, his voice hard. James stood up too. No, she's not. This is messed up, Madison. Madison's eyes darted around the table, seeing her perfect Thanksgiving crumbling. Mom, everyone's looking at us. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I wasn't making a scene when I worked 16-hour shifts so you could take dance lessons. I wasn't making a scene when I took out a second mortgage to pay for your college. I wasn't making a scene when I gave you $30,000 for this house. Carol's eyes widened. She looked at her son. You told us you'd saved that down payment yourselves. Madison's face flushed red. Mom, please, can we talk about this privately? Like we talked privately when you didn't invite me to your wedding rehearsal dinner? Like we talked privately when you told your friends I was busy instead of introducing me at your birthday party last year? Like we talked privately about any of the 100 little ways you've been erasing me from your life? My voice was steady, calm, but inside, my heart was breaking. I grabbed my purse from the counter, tucked the turkey platter under one arm. Mom, wait. Madison started to follow me. Carol stood up. Madison, let her go. You owe her that much. But Carol, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, Carol said, her voice ice. I understand that woman spent all day cooking for people who treated her like staff. I understand she's your mother, and you just humiliated her in front of strangers. And I understand why my son lied to me about where that down payment came from. She looked at Trevor with disappointment I could feel from across the room. I didn't wait to hear more. I walked out the front door, 22 pounds of turkey in my arms, and I didn't look back. My hands were shaking as I loaded the turkey into my car. But underneath the hurt, underneath the humiliation, I felt something else. Relief. For the first time in 30 years, I'd chosen myself. I drove home in silence. No radio, no tears, just the weight of 3 decades settling onto my shoulders. My apartment felt different when I walked in, smaller somehow, but also mine. I put the turkey on the counter, stared at it for a long moment, then laughed, actually laughed. What was I going to do with 22 pounds of turkey? My phone rang. Diane, tell me you didn't go. I went, and I left, with the turkey. Silence. Then, you took the turkey? Every bit of it. Oh, Linda, I'm coming over. While I waited, I carved some turkey, made myself a plate, sat at my small kitchen table for 2, and ate my Thanksgiving dinner alone. It was delicious. Diane arrived with wine, and that look on her face that meant she was proud of me, but trying not to say I told you so. Tell me everything. I did. Every detail, every word. When I finished, Diane reached across the table and squeezed my hand. It's about damn time. I left a folder, I said quietly. What folder? On her desk. Under some magazines where she'll find it eventually. Copies of everything. Every check I wrote. Every bill I paid. Every sacrifice I made. Documented. I'd prepared it weeks ago, after I'd noticed the change in Madison, after I'd realized she was ashamed of me. I'd photocopied bank statements, canceled checks, receipts, 30 years of financial help, totaling over $180,000. Including the mortgage payments? Diane asked, especially those. Because that was the real secret. 6 months ago, Trevor had called me. Madison didn't know. He'd lost his job. They were struggling. Could I help temporarily? I'd said yes. $2,000 a month, transferred directly. Madison never knew because Trevor never told her. And I'd kept paying, even after I suspected he'd found new work. Even after I realized they were using me. She's going to see those numbers and realize what you gave up, Diane said. Maybe. Or maybe she'll justify it, tell herself I wanted to help, that it was my choice. Was it? I thought about that. At first, yes, but somewhere along the way, it became expected, required. And the moment I couldn't give or wouldn't give, I became an inconvenience. My phone buzzed. Madison, then again, and again. I turned it face down. You're not going to answer? Not tonight. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Meanwhile, across town, Madison was discovering the folder. Friday morning, I woke to 43 missed calls, 28 from Madison, 12 from Trevor, 3 from Carol. The text messages were a progression of denial, anger, and something that might have been panic. Madison, 7:42 p.m. Mom, call me. We need to talk about your behavior today. Madison, 8:15 p.m. I found your folder. This is manipulative. You're guilt-tripping me with money I never asked for. Madison, 9:03 p.m. Fine, don't answer. But you embarrassed me in front of Trevor's family. Madison, 10:47 p.m. Mom, seriously, call me back. Madison, 11:58 p.m. I saw the mortgage payments. Why didn't Trevor tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Madison, 1:23 a.m. $180,000. That can't be right. You're exaggerating. Madison, 6:47 a.m. Mom, please, we should talk. I made coffee, fed my cat Oliver, sat in my morning silence. Then I called Carol back. Linda, I'm so glad you called. Her voice was warm, concerned. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. If I'd known what was happening, I would have said something sooner. You have nothing to apologize for. Carol, my son does, and your daughter. She paused. Trevor told me last night that he's been unemployed for 6 months, that you've been paying their mortgage. He wasn't supposed to tell anyone. Madison didn't know. Madison knows now. She found some kind of documentation you left? Yes. Linda, I'm going to be direct. My son lied to me about their financial situation. Your daughter lied about her relationship with you. And yesterday, I watched both of them treat you abominably. I'm ashamed. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you for saying that. I also wanted you to know, I won't be helping them financially. Trevor asked this morning if we could loan them money for the mortgage. I said no. What I witnessed yesterday showed me exactly why you stopped. Wait, she thought I'd stopped the payments, but I hadn't. Not yet. After we hung up, I logged into my bank account, found the automatic payment scheduled for December 1st, and I canceled it. Then I canceled the one for January, February, all of them. My phone rang again. Madison. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was different this time, smaller. Mom, I saw everything in the folder, all the numbers. I didn't realize. I knew you helped, but I didn't know how much. And the mortgage thing, Trevor should have told me. But Mom, we need to talk about this, about everything. Call me back, please. Still not an apology, still making excuses. I spent the weekend meal prepping turkey soup, turkey sandwiches, turkey casserole. Took half to the homeless shelter where I'd started volunteering after retirement. The coordinator, Maria, thanked me profusely. This is wonderful, Linda. You're a blessing. Someone thought I was a blessing. That felt good. Monday morning, my nephew James called. Aunt Linda, I need to tell you something, and you might be upset. What is it? I posted about Thanksgiving, not with names or anything specific, but I posted about what happened. And Aunt Linda, it's kind of blown up. My stomach dropped. What do you mean blown up? 30,000 shares. People are really angry about it. He read me the post. Thanksgiving dinner. Woman spends all day cooking for her daughter's family. Shows up early. Works alone for hours. Creates an entire feast from scratch. When it's time to eat, the daughter tells her she'll have to eat after all the guests because there's not enough room at the table and there's a seating arrangement. The woman picked up the turkey and left. Thoughts? The comments, James said, were overwhelmingly supportive. I would have taken the whole meal, not just the turkey. That daughter is going to regret this for the rest of her life. This broke my heart. Some people don't deserve their parents. The disrespect. I hope that mother never looks back. Thousands of them, strangers defending me, validating what I'd felt. I hope I didn't overstep, James said quietly. But what Madison did was wrong, and I was so angry I needed to say something. It's okay, James. Thank you for standing up for me. After we hung up, I wondered if Madison had seen it, if she knew people were talking about her, even without her name attached. I got my answer 2 hours later. Madison showed up at my door. She looked terrible, hair unwashed, eyes red, wearing sweatpants and one of Trevor's hoodies. Did you see the post? She demanded. James told me about it. Everyone knows, Mom. My friends are sending it to me asking if it's about us. Rachel from work sent it to our group chat. Do you know how humiliating this is? I stared at my daughter. How humiliating it is for you. Yes, people think I'm a terrible person. Madison, why do you think they think that? She blinked. Because James twisted what happened. Did he? Did he lie about anything in that post? Her mouth opened, closed. He didn't include context. What context? That I've given you nearly $200,000 over the years. That I paid for your wedding, your house, your mortgage for 6 months without you even knowing. That I spent all day cooking while you played hostess. What context makes telling your mother to eat after the guests acceptable? I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it, Madison? She didn't have an answer. If you've ever had to walk away from family to protect your peace, comment with your strength emoji. Madison stood in my doorway, and for the first time, I didn't invite her in. We need to talk, she said. No, you need to talk. I need space. Mom, you're ruining my life. Trevor's parents are furious with him. My friends are asking questions. And now I find out you've been paying our mortgage. Why didn't you tell me? Trevor asked me not to, said you'd be embarrassed. So you just did it without telling me? You're angry that I helped you? I'm angry that you're using it against me now. That was it. The last straw. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my home, Madison, right now. Mom, for 30 years, I gave you everything. Everything. I worked until my feet bled. I skipped meals so you could eat. I wore the same coat for 15 years so you could have new clothes. I canceled my nursing school dream so I could work full-time and raise you. I gave up dating, friends, a life of my own. Everything I had went to you. My voice was shaking now. And you know what? I did it gladly, because I loved you, because you were my whole world. But somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing me as your mother and started seeing me as your bank account, as your free labor, as an embarrassment to your new perfect life. Tears ran down Madison's face. That's not true. Isn't it? When was the last time you called me just to talk? When was the last time you invited me somewhere, not because you needed something, but because you wanted my company? When was the last time you introduced me to your friends with pride instead of making excuses for why I couldn't be there? She couldn't answer. I raised you better than this, I said, my voice breaking. I raised you to be kind, compassionate, grateful, but I can't make you be those things. That has to come from you. So what, you're just done with me? You're giving up on your own daughter? No, Madison. I'm giving up on being treated like I don't matter. There's a difference. I stepped back and closed the door. I heard her crying on the other side, heard her whisper, Mom, please. But I didn't open it. After she left, I sat on my couch and cried. Not because I regretted it, but because it hurt. Because choosing yourself always hurts when you've spent a lifetime choosing everyone else. Diane came over that evening, held me while I sobbed. You did the right thing, she whispered. Then why does it feel so awful? Because you're a good mother. But Lynn, good mothers don't have to accept being treated badly, even by their children. That night, I made a decision. I was done being Madison's safety net, done being available 24/7 for someone who couldn't even make room for me at the table, and I was going to start living for myself. The next morning, I opened my laptop and did something I'd been dreaming about for 30 years. I booked a trip to Europe, 3 weeks, London, Paris, Rome, Barcelona, flights, hotels, tours, everything I'd delayed because there was always something Madison needed, always a bill to pay, a crisis to solve, a dream of hers to fund. The total came to $4,800, less than 3 months of mortgage payments I'd been making for my daughter. I clicked confirm purchase and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement. Diane was thrilled. It's about time. When do you leave? 2 weeks, December 15th. Madison's going to lose her mind. Madison doesn't get a vote anymore. I spent the next few days preparing. got my passport updated, bought a new suitcase, started a walking routine to build my stamina, and I had a doctor's appointment I'd been putting off. Dr. Patel had been monitoring my blood pressure for months. It had been creeping up, stress-related, she said, and she wanted to start medication. "How have you been feeling, Linda?" she asked, checking my vitals. "Honestly, better than I have in years. Your pressure's down, significantly. What changed?" I told her about Thanksgiving, about setting boundaries, about choosing myself. She smiled. "Sometimes the best medicine isn't in a prescription bottle, but I still want to monitor this. Monthly check-ins? I'll be in Europe for 3 weeks in December." Her smile widened. "Good for you. We'll schedule around it." I didn't tell Madison about the trip, didn't tell her about the doctor's appointments I'd been attending alone, didn't tell her anything. She tried calling a few more times. The messages shifted from defensive to apologetic. "Madison, Mom, I'm sorry. I've been thinking about everything you said. Can we please talk?" "Madison, I know I hurt you. I want to make it right." "Madison, please don't shut me out. You're my mother." But they were words. Just words. No acknowledgement of specific wrongs. No changed behavior. No real accountability. I responded once. "I need time. Please respect that." She didn't respond well. "Madison, how much time? You can't just cut me off indefinitely." "Madison, this is cruel, Mom. I said I was sorry, but I held firm. 2 days before I left for Europe, I posted a photo on Facebook. Me at the airport, suitcase in hand, excited smile. Off on an adventure I've waited 30 years to take. London, here I come." The comments flooded in. Friends from my nursing days, former neighbors, people I hadn't talked to in years, all cheering me on. And Madison saw it. I didn't check my phone for the first 3 days in London. I was too busy. The British Museum, Tower of London, afternoon tea at a cute cafe in Notting Hill, a West End show. Walking along the Thames at sunset, I met other solo travelers, joined a walking tour, and had dinner with a lovely retired teacher from Australia and a widow from Canada who reminded me of Diane. I felt alive. When I finally checked my messages, there were dozens. From Madison, increasing in desperation. "Madison, you're in Europe?" "Madison, Mom, we got a foreclosure notice. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage." "Madison, I didn't know you stopped the payments. Trevor just told me." "Madison, we asked Trevor's parents for help. Carol said no. She said we need to figure it out ourselves." "Madison, Mom, please. We're going to lose the house." Part of me felt guilty. That old instinct to fix, to rescue, to sacrifice. But I thought about that Thanksgiving table, about being told to eat after everyone else. And I kept walking through London. In Paris, I stood at the top of the Eiffel Tower and cried, not from sadness, but from relief, from joy, from the overwhelming realization that I was worth more than I'd been allowing myself to believe. I posted photos. The Louvre, Notre Dame, macarons from La Durée, sunset over the Seine. Friends commented, strangers liked, and somewhere back home, my daughter was watching me live a life that didn't revolve around her. James called during my second week while I was in Rome. "Aunt Linda, I wanted to update you. Madison and Trevor put the house on the market." "Already?" "They can't afford it without help. Trevor got a new job, but it pays less. They're looking at apartments." "How's Madison handling it?" "Not well. But Aunt Linda?" He paused. "I think it's good for her. She's been living in a fantasy where money just appears and problems get solved by other people. This is reality. Has she said anything about me?" "Emma asked about you yesterday, asked why Grandma doesn't visit anymore." Madison didn't have an answer. "Emma, my granddaughter, 4 years old, sweet as honey, and I'd barely seen her in the past year. That hurt more than anything." I came home from Europe on January 7th, tanned and energized and different. Diane picked me up from the airport. You look 10 years younger. I feel it. Madison's been calling me, she said carefully. What does she want? To know if you're okay. Apparently James mentioned you'd been having health issues. I sighed. Blood pressure. It's under control. She didn't know you were seeing a doctor. She didn't ask. But that night, alone in my apartment, I thought about that, about attending appointments alone, about the day I'd gotten the high blood pressure diagnosis and sat in my car afterwards, crying, with no one to call. Madison had been too busy with her life to notice mine was falling apart. 3 days later, she showed up again. This time, she looked different, humbled, exhausted. Can I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. She sat on my couch, hands folded in her lap. James told me you've been sick. I'm fine. High blood pressure isn't fine, Mom. That's serious. It's managed. Were you going to tell me? Were you going to ask? She flinched. That's fair. We sat in silence. We lost the house, she said finally. We're moving into a 2-bedroom apartment in Riverside. It's all we can afford. I'm sorry you're struggling. Are you? I looked at her. Really looked at her. Yes, Madison, I am. Because despite everything, I love you. But I won't rescue you from consequences you created. I know. Her voice broke. Mom, I wrote you a letter. Can I read it? I nodded. She pulled out folded papers, hands shaking. Dear Mom, I don't know how to start this except to say I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not sorry that I got caught or that people found out or that there are consequences. Sorry for how I treated you. Tears ran down her face as she read. I told you to eat after everyone else at Thanksgiving. I can't take that back. I can make excuses, say I was stressed or worried about impressing Trevor's family. But the truth is, I was ashamed of you, and I hate myself for that. My own tears started. You worked your whole life for me. You gave up everything. And I repaid you by treating you like you were less than, like your sacrifices were just expected, like you didn't matter. She looked up at me. I'm in therapy now, twice a week, working on why I became so focused on appearances, why I valued Trevor's family's opinion over my own mother's dignity, why I felt entitled to your money, your time, your everything. Madison, please let me finish. She wiped her eyes. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything. But I need you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, what I became, and I'm ashamed. She folded the letter. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking you to fix our problems. I'm just asking if someday you might be willing to let me try to be the daughter you deserved all along. If you've ever had to choose self-respect over family approval, comment with your crown emoji. I didn't answer Madison right away. Instead, I said, I need to think about this. She nodded. I understand. After she left, I called Diane. She apologized, really apologized. How do you feel? Confused, hopeful, scared. All reasonable. What do I do, Di? What do you want to do? I thought about that for days. I thought about 4-year-old Emma asking where Grandma went, about Madison in therapy, actually trying to change, about 30 years of love that couldn't just disappear because of one terrible Thanksgiving. But I also thought about boundaries, about respect, about not returning to old patterns just because it was comfortable. 2 weeks later, I called Madison. I got your letter. And I need you to understand something. I love you. I will always love you. But I won't go back to how things were. I don't want that either. If we rebuild this relationship, it's on new terms, equal terms. I'm not your bank account. I'm not your free labor. I'm not someone you're ashamed of. I know. And you have to earn back my trust, not with words, but with actions, consistent actions over time. I will, however long it takes. We agreed to meet once a month. Coffee, neutral location, just us. The first meeting was awkward. Madison tried too hard, apologized too much, asked about Europe and my health, and actually listened to the answers. The second meeting was better. She told me about therapy, about realizing how much Trevor's status consciousness had influenced her, about working on her own insecurities. The third meeting, she brought Emma. My granddaughter ran to me with 4-year-old enthusiasm. "Grandma, I missed you." I held her and cried. Madison watched with tears in her own eyes. "She's been asking about you constantly." "I've missed her too." We went to the park, pushed Emma on swings, shared a picnic lunch Madison had made herself. "It's just sandwiches," she said apologetically. "I'm learning to cook." "They're perfect." Over the next months, I watched Madison change. Small things. She got a better job, one she was proud of. She stopped posting perfect life updates on social media. She started calling me just to talk, with no agenda. Trevor was slower to change, but he tried. He apologized stiffly, admitted he'd been using me, started paying me back in small monthly installments he could actually afford. I didn't need the money, but I accepted it, because it wasn't about the money. It was about the accountability. Carol and I became friends, real friends. She told me she'd been too focused on appearances too, that watching what happened with Madison had been a wake-up call. And slowly, carefully, my daughter and I rebuilt something new, not the old relationship where I gave and she took, something healthier, something equal, something that looked like respect. 1 year after I walked out with the turkey, Madison called. "Mom, I know this is a lot to ask, but would you consider coming to Thanksgiving this year?" My stomach tightened. "Madison, it's different this time, I promise. Just you, me, Trevor, and Emma. Our apartment. Nothing fancy. I'm cooking." She paused. "And Mom, I want you there because I love you. Not because I need anything, just because I want to share the day with my mother." I agreed. Thanksgiving Day, I arrived at their small apartment in Riverside. It was a fraction of the size of their old house, but it felt warmer somehow. Emma answered the door. "Grandma, we're making turkey." Madison appeared behind her, apron on, flower in her hair. She looked happy. "Come in. Fair warning, the turkey might be dry. I'm still learning." Trevor shook my hand. "Linda, thank you for coming." The apartment smelled like roasting turkey and burning rolls. The table was set simply, 4 places, and at the head of the table, a place card with my name. My eyes filled with tears. "You're the guest of honor, Mom," Madison said quietly, "as you should have been all along." We sat down to an imperfect meal. The turkey was a little dry. The stuffing was lumpy. The rolls were definitely burnt, but it was the best Thanksgiving I'd ever had. Because I wasn't there as the help. I was there as the honored guest, as the beloved mother and grandmother, as someone who mattered. Before we ate, Madison raised her glass. "I want to say something. Mom, last year I did something unforgivable. I treated you horribly. I took advantage of your love and your generosity and your endless sacrifices, and you did something I'll never forget." She smiled through tears. "You walked out. You chose yourself, and it was the best thing you could have done, because it forced me to see what I'd become. It forced me to change." Emma looked confused. Madison wiped her eyes. "So thank you. Thank you for walking away when you needed to. Thank you for setting boundaries. Thank you for teaching me, even at 33 years old, that respect isn't optional, even in family." especially in family." She looked around the table. "And thank you for giving me another chance to get this right." I reached across and squeezed her hand. "Thank you for doing the work to earn it." We ate our imperfect meal together. We laughed. Emma told knock-knock jokes. Trevor actually smiled. And when dinner was over, Madison and I did the dishes together while Emma showed Trevor her new coloring book. "Mom," Madison said, hands in soapy water, "I learned something this year." "What's that?" "That love without respect is just manipulation, and that boundaries aren't punishments. They're requirements for healthy relationships." I hugged my daughter. "I'm proud of you. I'm trying to be someone you can be proud of." "You're getting there." As I drove home that evening, I thought about the journey. About a Thanksgiving dinner that ended in humiliation and started a revolution in my life. About choosing myself when it was terrifying to do so. About the fact that sometimes the people who love us need to lose us to learn to value us. And about the quiet power of walking away from disrespect, even when it comes from the people we love most. I'd walked out with a turkey and my dignity, and I'd walked back in, a year later, with my self-respect intact and my daughter finally understanding what had been there all along. A mother who deserved honor, who deserved a place at the table, who deserved respect. Thank you for watching this story on Elder Justice Revenge Stories. If this touched your heart, please subscribe and click that notification bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your support means the world. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, you teach people how to treat you, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to accept less than you deserve, even from family, especially from family.